Happening right now, D.C. Council moving the budget forward.
But a controversial move to restore budget cuts raising concerns from the district's chief financial officer. Fox 5's Tom Fitzgerald is live at the Wilson building. Fitz, what's behind this move?
Well, good afternoon. You know, D.C. Council Chair Phil Mendelson is moving to tap $150 million out of reserves or a rainy day fund in order to restore funding to the tune of about $400 million of programs that were cut under D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser's proposed 2027 budget, come to an amount of $21 billion in all. Now, Mendelson is making this move right now ahead of the very first vote by the council on the fiscal budget for next year. Now, the proposal will restore funding to things like child care programs, housing vouchers, paid family leave benefits, and health care coverage for low-income residents. Mendelson said today the move is necessary to protect services that residents rely on while the city navigates through a difficult financial outlook.
The chief financial officer is projecting growth in our revenues. And I want to emphasize that because there's been a lot of discussion about how we have to do these cuts because our revenues have dropped. Well, our revenues are not growing as fast, but they are growing, and that's important.
That's right. Phil Mendelson says that the revenue is growing, but not everyone is on board with this decision, Fitz. Where is this pushback coming from?
No, what's interesting about that argument from the chairman quoting the chief financial officer, that it is the chief financial officer who was the person who was raising these concerns. Glenn Lee, who holds that position, which remember is an independent position within the D.C. government, said, you know, look, if you start drawing down on your reserves, it's going to put the difficult position of D.C. right now if they have to draw on those reserves at some point. You know, across the board, chief financial officers don't like tipping into reserves, but, you know, Mendelson's argument here right now is that the projection that the chief financial officer has put it out about future revenues shows a growth over the next couple of years. So the chairman's argument is if we do this now, they could get through this budget cycle and then higher revenues will be able to fill that gap as they move forward. It's interesting, during one point of this meeting today, the chairman actually announced that this fall, ostensibly after the new mayor election, he is going to hold a special meeting looking at revenues, looking at if there were other ways that the District of Columbia would be able to add revenues. And, you know, he said the T word in all of that, Shamar. He said, we've got to look at taxes. So that's something that could be down the pipeline as we get into the fall.